Good evening and welcome to another show of Podcast for Dads. I am Jay, aka HinduDad,
I'm Bav.
and welcome to the show, Ani. How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm fine. How are you all?
We're fantastic.
Good,
How's your week
good.
been?
It's been really busy, really hectic. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being able to make the time and carve that out for spending it with us this evening.
Of course.
So tell me, like, you've not been a mum for too long either, have you? So tell us about that little journey.
I didn't hear that bit, so sorry.
I said you've not been a parent for that long either, have you? So we're all very similar in terms of our time
in
as
terms
being
of our
parents.
timeline with our baby.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm a new mum. Maya has been on the scene for nearly 8 months now. So
8
I'm
months
just
has gone so
yeah,
quick, hasn't it?
8 months has gone so quick, especially in the pandemic. I thought it would go slowly, but it's actually done the opposite and gone really fast.
Yeah. And what was it like for you, the experience of going through pregnancy during the pandemic? Like, as we know, a lot of things weren't available to us during that time. You were slightly earlier than like I was, but you're just after birth, so some of those experiences might be mirrored.
Yeah, perhaps. I felt in different parts of the UK, everybody was going through different things, and the way the maternity unit was operating was actually really different. So I was envying some mums, and some other mums I just felt really sorry for as well. But in terms of my experience, I was kind of on edge all the way up until the point I gave birth because partners weren't allowed. And I think it was only in June where, things opened up a little bit more and dads were allowed to be a part of that journey with mums, which is such a big deal. So I was fortunate enough to have my partner beside me, and honestly, it made the biggest difference. I don't know how mums do it, especially first time mums without their partners. It's such a big deal emotionally, mentally. Getting you through that whole period is, it's torture in a lot of ways.
I mean,
but it's
just on that point as well, like, I've got a question for you, and we've generally asked a lot of the blokes that come on the show.
yeah.
Obviously, myself, Bob, we weren't able to really go to any of the baby scans, and we can see it from our perspective. But for someone actually being in the room, what was it like not, being able to have your partner there with you?
So actually, I think my partner had a similar experience to you guys. Up until 12 weeks, he could only be there for the first scan, which was actually really lovely to see that initial scan, to know that your baby's there, and it's just peace of mind. But from that point forward, it was actually really quite sad having to go to the hospital, with your partner, but they have to wait in the car park. So, you're waiting there by yourself, you're feeling anxious, you don't know what to expect. You're in the room and, they're making sure everything's okay, but you've got to look left or right to see, is anybody, with you to kind of share that exciting moment with you, or is anybody there to kind of hold my hand and just reassure me? I felt that was really daunting, especially as a first time mum. But on the plus side, it was really nice to actually come out of the hospital and to have my partner, he wouldn't even be sitting in the car, he'd be waiting there outside, like, what happened, and just that good news. And it was just so nice to see that. And it was really lovely to actually see other people that were going for their appointments and they were in a similar position. So I found comfort in the fact that I wasn't the only woman sitting in the room. There were actually, other women there and they were in the same position. So at the same time you feel sorry for yourself, and at the same time you're thinking, well, this can't be helped because there are so many first time mums or even second time mums that are in the same position feeling different things. So actually,
for that fact though, you must have been quite grateful the fact that he was able to come to at least the first scan and you both experienced it together, right?
Massively. It was so nice to experience that together, massively, to actually see your baby for the first time on the screen. And we didn't know what we were having, and we didn't want to know. We actually wanted the whole surprise. So it was constantly, what is it? What's it going to be? But can you see that? Did you spot anything there? So, it was actually really lovely. But having him there, as the build-up happened, being, allowed access into the room, not having to wait outside for a long period of time until I was actually in active labor. That's when he was allowed to come in. But up until then, we just tried to keep it at home as much as possible. I just tried to manage the pain as much as possible because I wanted to have that support system around me. And as soon as I was in active labor, then he was able to come with me, and the midwives were actually really, really amazing.
And
Well,
so,
go on.
Sorry?
go on, no, you first, mate.
I was just going to say, like, were you quite close to the hospital in terms of like travel wise, or did you guys have to travel quite far to get there?
So I was actually really lucky. The hospital was probably about a 10-minute drive from where I live.
Okay.
So that made a massive, massive difference. Just being able to go and not having to travel, being able to manage my pain a lot better with my TENS machine and with my hypno breathing, all of that kind of stuff. It was massively helpful. I tried to do whatever I could from home, like I said, in terms of my walking and all of that kind of stuff, like going for a long bath, long shower, all those things that mums try to do to manage it. But I used a really good app, and that really helped me in terms of managing my pains, because I was able to record when I was actually having contractions, and I would just press a button, and I kept on doing that as the day went on. And when it hit about 11:45, when things were just out of control, and when I mean out of control, I'm sure mums will know, like, when it's out of control, it just actually told me, you know, you're in active labor. So it actually really synced well with me having to call the midwife and call the hospital, let them know that, you know, I was now throwing up, and, you know, my apps also said this is now the right time to come in. So yes, and that's just kind of prompted me to go in, and there you go. Then it was.
To be fair, that's something that no one that we've had on the show has even spoken about, an app that can monitor the contractions and give them that extra support. So just out of curiosity, what's the name of the app? Yeah, I am.
I can't remember.
What I will do is get you to send it in the comments post show once we've figured out what it is.
I was going to say, I'm sure we've spoken about this before. About some point, I'm sure, because I used an app when Priya was going through labor.
Did it begin with F? I feel like it began with
I think the app was called just contractions off the top of my head. She might send a message in the comments soon.
I don't think that was my app.
And honestly, for me, it was like really cool, because I was like, let's timing them each time, because she would be like, oh, it started, so then I'd press the button and time it. But I'll be honest, like for us, the hospital, basically, we called them up and we'd have to keep like pestering them to say, oh, look, she's going through this much pain. And they were like, no, you've got to sit out for another hour. No. And what you get told about, you know, how far apart they should be and for how long, this was happening. But they were like, no, you can still carry on for a bit longer, because we were at the point where COVID was just at its peak, basically. They wanted to restrict you from coming in until pretty much the last minute. But for us, our hospital was like a 3-minute drive. So we could basically go back and forth if we needed to, without causing too much distress and stuff. But yeah, there is a couple of apps out there. I'm sure it's called Control, but Priya will come on and hopefully send a message and tell us what it's called, because it's definitely worth keeping those apps on your phone at all times.
Massively. I don't even know if I've got the app on my phone anymore, but I will check.
No worries. But then the other question that... Go on, finish out.
I was going to say, as soon as Maya was born, I think my whole diversion changed to those kind of contraction apps and those kind of the baby growing at 1 month, 2 months. It changed
baby
to
tracking apps.
Baby tracking apps. And I needed to make storage, so we went to that.
So I was going to say to you, as someone who kind of works within that industry as well, I suppose prior to becoming pregnant, you'd always kind of had some sort of perspective of what your pregnancy might look like, the kind of courses that you might want to enlist on and things like that. Were those also available at the time that you fell pregnant, or were they pulled away because of COVID restrictions?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm sure all parents want to do, especially first-time parents, is go on to an antenatal class. So our whole experience of an antenatal class was very different, because it all happened over a screen. So we met a whole load of parents all over Zoom, and we were working with a doll in front of us in the lounge, and there was nobody there to see if we were doing it right. It's very different changing a nappy on a doll and changing a nappy on your baby. Is completely different anyway. But in terms of classes, it was very different to kind of bond, obviously, with other people, because you're not able to see them in person. People on a screen, sometimes, are very different to what they're like in real life. And
absolutely. The whole interaction is completely different, isn't it?
The whole interaction was very different. And to be honest with you, as the weeks went on, I guess we became more laid back in terms of being present for the class, and my husband would finish work at a later time sometimes, because he's like, I know you've got it on the class. Whereas if that was happening in real life, he'd have to stay put. He wouldn't be able to leave the class. So it was a very different situation. So I'd say that was the only class that I 100% wanted to go to. But something else that really interested me, and if I had the opportunity to, I would have been able to go on to it as well, was a hypnobirthing class. So it was a whole course really, in terms of managing your breathing, managing your thoughts, which I really wanted to do because I was a very anxious first time mum. I'll be honest with you. I had so many thoughts through my head, and as COVID happened, I became even more anxious because my birth plan, it went out the window really. The people that I thought that I would be able to have there in the room with me, I realized they're not going to be there. In fact, I started to accept that my partner might not even be there. I might be by myself. So then I managed to actually get onto the course, but it was very different because it was all online again, like I'm telling you. And in terms of working through breathing techniques online rather than in person, that's also really different as well. So I did the course, I got the material, but one thing which I took away from everything, which isn't really course related, but it led me to do that because I couldn't go on a course, was actually making a whole list of positive affirmations, pregnancy affirmations, which I wrote and stuck up in my room. And I used to go through them every morning and every evening. And I really, really, really feel like it helped me manage my pregnancy, it helped me stay positive throughout my whole pregnancy. And I feel like a mother's mood, emotions, and what she feels while she's pregnant really does have an impact on her child, and
absolutely,
going forward as well. So it was so important for me to, be focused myself and have that self-control within myself, and not depend also just on circumstances to kind of influence me, but also have, that within me that I'm going to stay positive for my baby, and I'm going to do things that make me happy. So that positive affirmation list, that which I got from my hypnobirthing course, that massively helped me.
In terms of your partner, was he allowed to stay with you in the hospital after you gave birth?
So he was allowed to stay with me after birth, up until the point that I got moved on to a ward, because I actually had to stay for a couple of days after the birth. So he was only able to stay with me for, I think it was maybe 4 hours after the birth. And after that, he wasn't able to. The moment I got moved on to the ward, he would come to the hospital, but he'd only be able to come to the double doors, and he would drop off a bag to me, of the certain foods that I'd have to have, as soon as I give birth. And that would be it. So it was really frustrating actually on both parties, because at the same time, your partner's been there with you, after being told that he's not going to be allowed to be there. He's, prepared himself for that. And then all of a sudden he gets told that he is allowed to be there. So he must have been excited.
Over the moon at that though. Yeah.
Oh, so over the moon. You just can't explain it. But I know as dads, you can relate massively.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was really lovely. But actually been told after his daughter was born that, okay, he has to go home now, I think that was very frustrating.
Go home, and the only time you're seeing her is if you FaceTime.
The thing is,
that's it. That's all it was for the next 2 days, which I totally get, because we had the same thing. I think Jay had it for a bit longer, where Priya had to stay for a couple of days afterwards. More than anything, I think they just delayed the process because there weren't enough doctors to let her out on time. So she could have probably gone the next day, but the doctors didn't come in time to sign her off, so they kept her one more night. And I was like, okay, so I can only see him by having a little FaceTime conversation.
And it's so hard. You're having to see your newborn for the first time over FaceTime, And
I'm like, what is this? Like, how is this come to this? Like, I was like, all right, let me get my hours of sleeping if I can, while I can.
Massively. That was a
problem. I was like, let me get that in. I got to look at some positive out of it, right? It can't just be like, I can't just sit there saying, when is he coming home? When is he coming? It's out of my control. But I might as well get those couple of hours in, because I knew as soon as he came, he was going to cause a bit of mischief. So I was looking forward to it. But at the same time, that's all you could do.
Your mischief causing days were over, you mean?
Yeah, I had to pass it down to the next generation, right? That's it. That's how it works.
So I've actually got, sorry, before we go further from there, like I had a question for you, which is one of the things that I noticed with Reshma is that obviously once I left the hospital and she was with Jaden, you know, all of a sudden you've been given this newborn baby, you've got no clue on what to do next, and you're left in a hospital with restrictive movement. You know, you don't really feel yourself, you're hormonal, everything's all out of balance. Like, how did you feel personally? Like, what was the days that you were in hospital when you were alone, you didn't have Jack in there to support you, or even just to hold Maya for a couple of hours so you could get a bit of rest? Like, what was that like for you as an experience? I've kind of thrown you a bit, haven't I?
I was going to say, she's thinking that's a long time ago.
Not only that, it was just a mix of emotions. So, I mean, 100% would tell you it's lonely because, you know, you're without your partner, and you're not quite sure how to navigate, you know, this child that you've made together. But on the other side, I would say it was lovely because I got to have my baby all to myself. So I'm being selfish, but as a mother, I had to learn how to breastfeed. I had to learn how to change a nappy myself. And I think in terms of obviously the breastfeeding aspect, I don't think Justin would have been able to help me with that. So it actually gave me that one-on-one time to actually really navigate and feel comfortable and confident enough to, you know, do this with Maya. So when I came home, that wasn't a worry, and touch wood, it hasn't been a worry. So in that respect, that was fine. In terms of lack of sleep, in terms of, you know, having to just be there, you know, I want to say I felt tired because I probably did, but as soon as I gave birth, everything kind of felt a blur. Everything felt surreal. I just couldn't believe I was actually holding this miracle, and this miracle was half me, half my blood, half me.
Yep.
And I was just in awe. So I think even the time I probably should have been sleeping, I wasn't sleeping. I was just watching over my baby, making sure she's breathing, kissing her, just trying to hold her, capture and just take it all in, to be honest. I felt like I was on a roller coaster.
So something that
was
Bob
loving
and
it.
I say quite often is, and you know, I've said many a time before, friends of mine have told me in the past, like when you hold your baby for the first time, like your whole outlook on life changes. That whole
Just about to
perspective
ask the same
changes.
question.
And
massively.
so, you know, what were the kind of thoughts that you were having at that point? Because like, if we put it into context, right? Before having kids, like we think, oh, you know, it's the house, it's the car, it's like, you know, something for the weekend, it's a pair of trainers. Yeah. And you're right. It's absolutely that. It's material things that are always top of the list. And then as soon as you hold that little baby in your arms, that all gets washed away.
Yeah, massively. I mean, I think one of the other things I tell you that stuck with me was I had a newfound respect for my own mum, and also for all of the mums out there.
Absolutely.
You know, all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, you guys have not only grown your baby, you've birthed your baby, especially, you know, people do it all in different ways, natural cesarean or whatever it might be, but it's difficult. Either way, it's difficult to actually do that whole process. And then it doesn't stop. You just keep going. You're constantly going through, you know, all of these changes in life, through every stepping stone, through every milestone. You're there, you're right beside them. So I just found a whole new respect for, you know, the mums out there, also for dad out there, but especially the mums. I think being a mum myself, I just felt like a new person was completely reborn. And I know it might sound cliche, but it, like you said, my whole perspective, everything just changed me. You know, it just changed for me. Within that, he's disappeared.
Split second. Yeah.
He's back. But yeah, it just changed. And I just thought to myself, what was life before Maya? What was life? I can't believe I've actually gone this long without Maya in my life. And I felt like she's given me life. She's given me purpose. She's given me drive. And she literally is my heartbeat. She really is my heartbeat. And when she's not with me, I feel like my limb is missing, my heart's missing, my hand's missing. I don't even know how I'm going to do the whole transition to nursery. That's a whole nother thing altogether. But that's literally how I felt, and I don't think that feeling will ever change. I don't think, no matter how old you are, I think you'll always be your mum's baby. No matter how independent you are. And I can see now, you know, why you know, moms do the things that they do. And now at this age, my mom still runs around me and now Maya. But that doesn't change. It doesn't change no matter how old you are. They're always there for you. And, you know, same for you dads as well. I asked Ethan yesterday, I said, if you could describe what Maya means to you in one word, what would it be? And he said, everything. And I'm sure you dads, you know, feel the same
Completely
way.
agree.
They're
Absolutely.
literally everything. There's nothing beats like no feeling in the world. And I'm going to get emotional now. So that's just, you know.
Is that the point that we move on to the next topic?
and that's without getting into the nursery, the schools, and then when they get older to get married, etc. Like, you know,
actually, so if we don't go that far, but there is one question that I do have for you: who went in when Maya went for her jabs?
Me.
Did you?
Yep. So, I mean,
were you the person that took her in for all of them?
Yeah, we weren't allowed. He wasn't allowed to come in.
Oh, really?
So yeah, he wasn't allowed to come in even afterwards. So I've just had to go by myself because of COVID restrictions, and it's been really difficult. You know, especially after you've given birth and you're not even used to carrying a car seat. You find the car seat heavy as it is without the baby. And then you're there and you're just putting your foot down from your house like, I'm getting down as fast as I can, because they find the whole experience so daunting because they've been indoors so much. So for them to have their first jabs, just go in the car, that's an experience, you know, in itself. And, you know, being COVID and not seeing as many people as, you know, you thought you would on a regular basis, even seeing people is a daunting experience in itself, whether it be an nurse or whether it be a family member.
Definitely.
Massively.
So and how did you feel like, what was it like for you? So you went into the third set of jabs where Maya had a bit more of her like wit about her. She was understanding a bit more what was going on. Like Reshma sent me in for the first set of jabs and the last set of jabs, and she went in for the middle set. But after she came out, she was just like, I can't do this. I can't go in again. Like it makes me
really tough.
Like, yeah.
It's really tough.
What was it like for you after the third set? Like, honestly, for me,
I mean, I went
when she put the jabs in and he just started bawling and the nurse kind of flinched and I was like, why are you flinching for? This is your job.
I know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. So I knew of the nurse, so that was really comforting for me. Actually, you know, somebody who I know.
Familiar. Yeah.
Vaccinating my daughter, and I was there ready with my Calpol bottle, and she was like, "You just wait, Anisha. You just wait." And I was like, okay. But I was ready in that sense, and I just kind of made sure that Maya slept properly afterwards, and before that she'd eaten properly. You know, just kind of like managing the things around me so that she felt okay after injection. And I think most importantly, just keeping her happy after it was done, and that really helped.
I don't think I've ever asked you, Bob, but did you go for any of the jabs, or would Priya go?
No. So the first set were in the hospital anyway, right? Because by the time he came home, he had them. So like the BCG and stuff had happened, you know, the next day while she was there. And then the other couple of sets that we've had, she's taken him inside, but I've been outside. So we would walk there. She'll take him in for the jab. But when you're standing, I can literally hear him. As soon as it goes in, he just starts crying. And I'm like, like, you must be in some serious pain. And he comes out, and you're like trying to do whatever you can to try and make him laugh. Whatever silliness you can do, just to kind of put a smile on his face. And he's looking at you like, okay, are you serious now? Like, you know, I've just been in pain. Like, just let me cry it out from. But you know what? He's a brave little boy, and to be honest, like, cries for a little bit. Thinks about the pain, but then when he gets home, he's like, all right, let's just play instead, and let's just forget the pain and carry on. So he's doing quite good. But I think we've got one more set coming up soon, I think.
Yeah, one more. They have one more, don't they? After that.
Yeah. So I don't know whether we're both going to be allowed in, whether one of us, you know.
I'm hoping it will be the case.
Priya, if you're watching, send Bob.
Yeah,
I don't mind actually.
But it also depends on your working schedule as well, though, doesn't it?
He's flexible.
Want to go. Okay, Bob's flexible.
Flexibility is key. COVID has been saving. COVID's been saving for flexibility. Let's put it that way, right?
Massively.
Working from home has made life so much easier.
I mean, that's the plus side of being a dad in the pandemic. The amount of time you have with your baby.
Yeah.
I also feel that it's completely unfair, though, that like blokes in general, up until the pandemic, have never been able to spend that quality time with their child, or like have the flexibility to work from home. And I've said it to Barb over the past few weeks, but I really can't imagine like this first 6 months, like year, in any other way. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so hard to visualize having that experience in any other way and not being around as much.
Definitely. I know it's so important for dads to bond and develop that connection. Otherwise, you know, a lot of people base their, you know, their routines and their timings around when dad comes home, because mum might, you know, work part-time and finish before, but when dad comes home, so he can be present for X, Y, Z. And yeah, it's really tough. But I mean, it's been really nice for me. I've been able to have Jonathan just kind of pop his head in every now and then, or, you know, do a nappy whenever he's available, and just have a bit, like you said, flexibility that you wouldn't have otherwise.
So that's all it is. Definitely. It's literally like, all right, let me change a quick nappy, or all right, let me give him like, or let me just I'll give him some breakfast, or let me give him his dinner, or, you know, bath time, make sure I'm available to give him, you know, those small things. Whereas actually, if I was in the office, I would have missed probably 90% of probably everything.
But also you get a flavour of what it's like for, you know, a mum who might be managing a lot of that herself as well by 100%. Taking on that load. You might just 100%. Think, oh, you know, she's just given him his dinner, but actually what goes into actually preparing your child's dinner, you know, especially if you're doing it there on the spot, actually preparing it fresh, peeling your veg, boiling whatever you need to, maybe blending it when you need to. At the same time, you're keeping your baby, you know, occupied,
entertained.
Making sure
that, that's the hardest part, right? Is actually entertaining them for that hour of sitting down, having their dinner, right, and making sure that they actually eat it. Because you know, there's times where he will be like, actually, I'm not in the mood for it. My teeth hurt too much. So then you have to try and, you know, give him something else, give him his own spoon to play with. Say, okay, you play with this one. While he puts that, while he's about to open his mouth to put it in, you put the bit of food in, so he starts eating, so he gets used to it. But you have to do these little tricks to just try and feed him.
Listen, I've been learning that firsthand this last week. Even today, I was feeding Jaden at lunchtime, and honestly, like, I sent you a video, Annie. Do you know what I mean? And before I sent that, like before I started filming that clip was actually pretty good because it showed him actually eating. I was getting quite successful, right? But the 10 minutes prior to that was just me chasing his face with the spoon because he just kept turning from left to right.
Yeah, because it's new for them. They're not used to it. They're just thinking, what is that? It's a different texture, it's a different taste. But it's actually, I'd say it's really fun. I'm really enjoying the weaning journey. I think it's really nice to see how they enjoy different flavors, how they take to it, how they grow, you know, actually transitioning from, you know, drinking from a cup, drinking from a straw, all these little things. They're actually, you know, really good.
Has Maya got any teeth?
Okay, the teeth question. I keep on thinking they're definitely coming. I keep on saying they're coming. They haven't come yet. She's literally, you know, showing all the symptoms for it, you know, with the teething, just naturally, you know, waking up in the middle of the night because she's in pain, and I can see her fingers in her mouth, or she's trying to grab her comforter, or, it, you know, with her, it actually affected her toilet as well at the same time. So, I mean, it is really challenging, and there's nothing really you can do. But no, they haven't come through yet. I do feel like they might come through. I can see the whites coming through.
Yeah.
So I feel like the top two fronts, you know,
the thing is that even the food that you give her changes once those teeth come, because you can give her things
exactly. I mean, all these books might say to you, try this, try that, you know, now you should move on to a bit more bitty stuff or a bit more this. And we are at the stage where we are having some bitty stuff just because I need her to sign, you know, exercise her mouth muscles and all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm really cautious of what to give her. It's just, I'm watching her like really closely, like, please don't joke, please don't like that, have it slowly. But it's all about them kind of navigating their way, you know, while they're eating. And, you know,
but their gag reflex is out of this universe. Like,
I know
they can take something and like swallow it, but then let it back out again straight away, because it's like, oh no,
that's when you kind of have to work out their
follow
their lead.
He's like, no, like, tell me more. I'm like, no, calm down. Let's take a break for a couple of minutes, and then we'll. But he enjoys, because he's got the teeth now. He's got
he's got his
bottom,
teeth. Okay.
He's got bottom two, top two. Well, top one on this side, and another one next to it. But he like now enjoys the whole thing of biting biscuits and stuff like that. So he actually puts his teeth into it, and it's so cute when you watch it as well, because it's like he bites it. It's like, oh, this is like adults eating food. Like, it just looks so cute.
He enjoys it more. I've got to say, how was it when he got his teeth? Did you look at him saying, you look like a different boy now?
Yeah, 100%. I look at him every day. I'm like, hey, is the next one coming now? Because everything changes on them. Their facial expressions, how they look,
Mm.
and stuff like each tooth that comes out. And the first two you look at, you start laughing because you're like, oh, this is quite cute. It's so funny.
He looks like a
It's so
little boy
different.
now, from
Yeah,
like a
that's
little
it.
baby boy to a little boy. Yeah.
And then I get excited. I'm like, all right, let me see how sharp these teeth are. So then I'm like, all right, have a bite of my finger. Let's see how sharp, and it actually hurts. Not recommended.
Mistake
No,
number one.
that's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's it. But it helps them with their teething because
Literally.
of the pain that they're in, right? So you just like give them
He's
something.
frozen. Has he frozen?
It's all the foods and stuff that you give, like toys and stuff that you try and give them to help them. It doesn't help. Whereas you just give me a little finger and you're like, oh, buy it on this. And he's like, oh, this tastes better. This is actually good for you. Like,
And that helps. Actually, putting a teething ring in the freezer, I feel like that massively helps. Then obviously
Definitely.
you've got the
he doesn't
Ambisol
like
and all of
anything that's
those.
good for his teeth. Anything that's not meant for his
That's
teeth,
the
he will eat
thing.
that.
He'll go for it.
Toys, remote controls,
Typical.
whatever. Yeah, that's it.
It's typical. It's typical for them to go through that. I'm slowly realizing that
Just
too.
the age, though, isn't it? They'll grow out of it.
Yes.
That's going to be
it.
the next line that we're going to be spewing for the next year, isn't it? They'll grow out of it.
They'll grow out of it.
So I'm cautious about time as well because I know that you've got a lot going on, Annie. So
Yes.
obviously, speech and language therapy is something that you have as your forte. So tell us a bit more about how you got into that to begin with.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a speech and language therapist, and I'm so proud to be a speech and language therapist. Honestly, I feel more prouder to be a speech therapist now that I'm a mum more than ever, I'd say, in my career. But I've been a speech therapist for 7.5 years now. The way I got into speech therapy was actually through my dad. My dad had a pituitary tumor at a really young age. He was 32 when he got the tumor, and it was something that's actually affected every aspect of his life. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but it's something that definitely influenced me to want to help people and to just help their lives in general. But it's really difficult to make a decision, when you're in college and you're told that, your A levels are going to determine what you do and your whole future and your whole career. So I got a lot of work experience, and I went to Queen's Medical Hospital with my mum's brother, and he was actually really good in kind of introducing me to a whole load of health professionals, so from dietitians, radiotherapists, speech therapists. I knew that I didn't want to become a doctor because I felt that was too long-winded for me, and I didn't like blood and all of that kind of stuff, but I knew I wanted to help people. So actually being an allied health professional was something that really appealed to me. And I actually was fortunate enough to go onto a ward, and I worked with a patient who had a stroke. And I worked alongside speech therapists and watched how this stroke patient went from not recognizing his wife, not saying his wife's name, to actually saying his wife's name and actually remembering who she was while she was sitting in front of him. And I was in complete awe. I just thought, oh my God, this is magical. Like, that's somebody you've been married to, and what a feeling to actually say that word, what that must mean to your partner right now. You haven't heard your name for so long. And within our Asian community, I felt speech therapy wasn't something that had been massively advertised or spoken about. So actually seeing that experience drew me to, do my further research and think about, is this the actual career I want to go into? And I got more and more experience as the journey went on. So I worked abroad. I got some work experience abroad in Singapore. I worked with adults who had tracheostomies, and I worked with children that had cerebral palsy in a cerebral palsy centre. I also went to India, and I volunteered in Udaipur in villages over there, and I actually did some education and training with another speech therapist on what autism is and what special needs is, just because it's not spoken about so much in villages over there, and it's actually, it's not really seen in a positive light. It's actually seen, as something that they should kind of push to the side in society. So that kind of drove me more to want to be a speech therapist. So all of those kind of experiences shaped, me wanting to become a speech therapist, and I've continued since then. And I'm now a pediatric speech therapist, and I specialize in autism and complex needs.
I've got to say, like, obviously some people may know, some people may not, but Annie and I are quite closely related. And this is the first time that I've heard about her level of experience. I've got to say, I'm very like taken back. Like,
Oh, thank
I'm very
you.
proud. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But yeah,
So,
it's been a journey.
yeah, like especially going through so many different levels of experience to kind of home in on the skill set and the area in which you want to take on as a niche as well, right?
Massively.
So I'd probably like, I was going to ask you prior to this, like, is there one story that kind of sticks out in your head, but you've already covered that off.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess.
But I mean, it did say, I mean, obviously during my experience, even though I was influenced to kind of go to adults in the first place, I actually love working with children, and I'm a big kid myself. And so when you know, have a personality like a chatterbox, and you love speech and language therapists, and you love kids, you know, you just kind of want to combine all of those things together so that your job never feels like a job. You know, it's something that you would do happily every single day. Like, I wake up every single day. I don't complain about going into work. I don't complain about finishing late. I mean, the paperwork is a different story altogether. But in terms of actually working with the children, I thoroughly enjoy
It's got to
it.
be so rewarding.
And, you know, massively rewarding, massively. You know,
because you're seeing them
imagine your own
accomplish
children now
milestones,
that you're
aren't they?
parents. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
It's
you know,
really lovely.
this morning Jaden rolled over, like half rolled over for the first time on his own. Do you know what I mean? And we were sitting there quite elated as well and proud of ourselves. So I can imagine, like,
It's
you know,
those
how you
little
must feel when
things.
you see those milestones with your patients as well.
Massively. I mean, I feel it so much when, you know, I don't really know that child, and, you know, the parents come in with their child, and, you know, you're trying to do everything you can in those few appointments, especially working in NHS, which I'm sure we'll get to. But actually seeing those little things now with my own child, you know, I take them so seriously. And if she doesn't do it, no worries, it's fine, because we shouldn't put that pressure onto our kids. You know, every child develops at their own pace, and we should let them be.
With a different
Let them
learning
do
style.
exactly. They all have different
Yep.
learning styles, and they'll do what they need to do when they're ready. And as a society, we all need to accept that. I think we see so many books and so many research that at this age they should be doing this and this. Of course, as professionals, we can give a guide, but I think just
It's
roll
just
with it.
that though, isn't
It's
it?
a
It's
journey.
just a guide.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
It's just a guide.
But
People have got to learn to embrace
for
it.
like adults, right? Like they say, oh, at this age you should do this, or this age you should do that. And again, it comes down to like our culture as well as anything else, where
Oh,
you know
massively.
it gets like, oh, at this age you should be married, or this age you should have kids, or this, you know, and then
Oh,
it's
he's
like,
opening up a whole different can of worms
well,
here.
no, but it
Stop
comes-
it, Sam.
but if you look at it, right, like you know, even in the industry where you're in now, you know, how many Asian speech and language therapists are there out there?
Hardly any that I really know of, to be honest. I mean, when I was studying, I definitely met a few more speech and language therapists, and that was really lovely. Actually, it was really nice to find comfort in speech therapists that actually, you know, are from a similar background to you. You know, get the
Yep.
get the whole kind of. But people come up to you. A lot of people. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Even now, I think up until last year, I think my granddad was telling everybody that his granddaughter is a doctor. I think that was just easier for him to say. And I'll always say to him that I'm a speech and language therapist. Say I'm a talking doctor, if that makes it easier for you. Because then people will come up to me and they'd be like, apparently you're a doctor and my child is doing this. And I'm like, I don't know what conversation you've had with my granddad, but I can only answer queries related to communication. But it's the whole outlook. So, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, well, Time to Talk. You've built a course, you've just let it hit the market this week. So what prompted you to do that in the first place? Like,
Yeah, so Time to Talk is my new baby, and I'm hoping it's going to reach as many parents, carers, and professionals as possible. And what prompted me to do this course was my background as speech therapist, as you know, but also working in the NHS and the private sector. I felt there was a gap in children receiving the support that they needed at the right time. And I felt that a lot of the parents that were coming to me at a point where children were getting frustrated, or they haven't quite hit that one word stage, and they want their children's language to accelerate and to develop. And before a baby can do that, or a child can do that, there's certain steps that they have to have in place, so that they basically move up a language pyramid. And if they don't have the skills at the bottom, then they can't actually achieve the skills at the top. And a lot of the parents that were coming my way were parents that were not moving up that ladder. So I thought to myself, what can I do so that I can support parents from home? Because working in the NHS, I was working 3 weeks up until my pregnancy. So I was still answering queries to parents, and I felt helpless that I couldn't actually actively see them. And I was offering generic advice on the phone that you should try this out and you should try this out. And actually, it's really difficult to do that when you've never met a child. And I thought to myself, a lot of the things that I might want to try out with your child in a speech and language appointment, it doesn't actually require speech and language appointments. Sometimes I think if parents took matters into their own hands and actually tried a lot of these things that I discuss on Time Talk at home, they would actually see a massive difference with their babies right from the get-go. They shouldn't have to wait, to actually go to a speech and language appointment or to actually see someone. You shouldn't have to sit there Googling, how can I get my child to say mama? How can I get my child to say dada? Why is my child not babbling yet? What do I need to do to get my child to babble? When I can actually offer that information as a qualified speech and language therapist. So I built Time to Talk with all my research. I've offered tips, strategies, techniques that I would actually do with my own child. And I thought, let me empower the other parents out there. Let them, take matters into their own hand. Let them actually try these things out with their children. And I thought to myself, well, actually, a parent is, very busy. We have very tight schedules. So I thought, okay, let me make this course easy for a parent to use. So I've developed 7 bite-sized videos, which are between 1 and 4 minutes long. I've got downloadable material as well. So you can actually watch the videos, you can rewind, forward, pause, you can watch it, at your own pace, at your own time, whenever you want, wherever you want, because it can be downloaded onto your iPhone, onto your tablet, onto your computer, soak in the material. And on top of that, I'm offering an optional phone call with parents where I can offer specific advice, but that's just a one-off because there's only so much you can do, obviously.
So many hours in the day.
And so many hours in the day as well, on top of it as well. So that was a birth of Time to Talk. So it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I actually want to share with so many people. And obviously nurseries have been closed, schools have been closed, baby sensory classes of their baby yoga, baby massage. But I felt there was a gap in terms of communication. I mean, I'm a big advocate for hackathon signing. I think it's brilliant. And it's one of the things I discuss about. It's one of the modules in the course as well. But I think there's so much more to communication than just hackathon. So much more that you should do with your child from the beginning, or between that whole 0 to 13 month period. It's such a big period where their brains are like sponges and they're just absorbing and absorbing. So I just thought, whatever I'm doing with Maya, let me share it with the world. So that's how Time to Talk was born.
And to be fair, so we accessed the course, was it last night or the night before? And then yesterday, Resh and I were going through the course and, actually utilizing some of the tips and tricks that you put through there. And, just straight off the bat, there are certain things that have immediately come into play and we've seen a reaction to it. Do you know what I mean? And some of those things, it's as simple as you said, like at what age should my child be babbling or cooing or whatnot, and those certain things. They're things that as a father I've searched on Google. Do you know what I mean? Like every time he cries at night and he's wiling out and we don't really have an understanding as to why you're doing it, you're like 5-month-old cries at night, and then you'll get a list of results. Do you know what I mean? We do
exactly. We do.
And the fact is, there's certain tips and tricks that you give away in your course that will get people to feel a lot more comfortable and at ease, and it will help them with the journey and experience with their child. Do you know what I mean? I definitely say I haven't been through all of them. I haven't been through all of the resources and materials, hands up. But I can hand on heart say that there are things that we have looked at and that we've employed straight away, and that you do see a reaction to what you're testing out. So congratulations.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. And that's the beauty of the course, but you don't have to go through all of it on one night. It's your course. You can go through it as many times as you want to, wherever you want. I mean, as parents, we're strapped for time, so it's understandable.
wherever.
Yeah.
To be honest, like we went through it. Priya watched the whole. She's gone through all the material on there already.
Oh, bless her.
I've been through quite a few more left to go. But what we picked up on, one of the main things that she said as well, and I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Is you actually showing the examples visually with yourself and your baby actually is really helpful, because
I'm so
some
glad.
people might be like, oh, how do you do this, or how should I do this? But actually, because you've made that example live and people can actually see it, I think that takes it to another level. And honestly,
Thank you so much.
the material that I've been through so far is amazing. So it is
Thank
actually
you
really
so much,
helpful and really good. And there's things you look at and you're like, oh, okay, this is how you could do it, or this is how I can communicate, or I could do this and I could do that. And you automatically,
Absolutely.
your mind just changes straight away. Literally, as soon as you've seen it, you're like, oh,
It's
have
just
I
your
been
mindset.
doing this or have I not? Or let's try it out and let's see if there's any kind of difference to
Absolutely.
how they develop. And it's not going to happen overnight.
Of
But
course,
these
it's
are the
something
things
that you have to practice and
Yeah,
model.
of course.
You just have to embed it as part of your routine. As soon as you do that, things become a lot more easier.
Natural.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, such as bath time. If we do that at a certain time in the day, if we do bedtime at a certain time in the day, it becomes easier for them as well as us. It's the same as communication. If we adapt our communication style and if we're doing things in a certain way, and if we're responding to them in a certain way, they're thinking, oh, okay, this is working. I'm going to continue to do this, and then you're going to continue to do what you need to do as well, without giving too much away of what I do in the course. But it's exactly that.
But honestly, it's a course that I would actually recommend, parents to be, even before the baby's born, actually,
Absolutely.
download the course and
Even if
utilize
you're
it
an uncle
before.
or an aunt, it's worth
Yeah,
downloading.
actually, you're not. You see my point. You don't actually have to be the parent, because those things are, like you said, when the baby comes along, your time is limited, right? But actually, that knowledge will stick with you, and because they're bite-sized, they actually stick in your brain very
Exactly.
quickly, very easily, and
they're easy to look back at.
Yeah, easy to look back, but you memorize it quite easily. I'm
Yes.
one of those people that when I watch something, I can actually remember it a lot better. So actually, that helps. And then going forward, when the baby comes, it will just automatically come back to you straight away, and you'll be doing those things as second nature.
Exactly. One of those things. I mean, I would highly recommend it for babies at the beginning of their journey, but I would also recommend it, throughout your journey. I don't think it's ever too late, because a child might be 11 months, let's say, and they might not actually be doing certain things that they should be doing, or parents might not be. So I would still recommend it. I've had a lot of parents that have said to me, that my child is 10, 11 months. Should I still get the course? And I would say, yep, definitely go for it, because there could be certain things in there that could really push your child's language to another level. And, they could hit different milestones within their communication, and that's what you want, really. A lot of babies right now are starting nurseries, and nurseries do a lot, but there's only so much they can do as well in terms of supporting a child's communication. And we've got a family background in nurseries as well, so I know how important communication is within the nursery. And right now I know that nurseries are flooded with Senkos and health visitors, and I've had a lot of referrals that have come my way because children have had a lack of input from nurseries, and that lack of socializing with other children. And parents are going through different things, and they might not be in the right space, or nurseries, obviously, like I said, haven't been open. So having something like this would really help on both parties.
Definitely.
And I'm also looking forward to the next part that I see is it's coming up soon.
The talking toddler. Yes, so that's the next stage. That's for 13 to 36 months. It's available for pre-order, but it's not going to be out until early summer. And I think, again, that is going to be a brilliant tool for parents to use, especially because, like I said, up until they're 3 years old, their brains are sponges. So the more vocabulary that you expose them to, the better it's going to be for them later on in life. And there's a massive link between the amount of words that they absorb and that they know at this stage in life, and their literacy development and their academic and personal success as well. And that's a massive thing.
They say that about language and linguistic skills as well, don't they? Because they say that babies or children that are spoken to in different languages find it easier to then speak other multiple languages when they grow older.
Definitely. I mean, we should definitely use this platform to say, I mean, speaking two languages to your child is very important. And I
Hmm.
know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I speak Gujarati. That's my, second language, but I wouldn't say it's my first language just because I'm so used to speaking in English. But one of the things that I do is I use keywords in Gujarati
Yep.
with my baby. So, I'll say things like bunny, I'll say things like good, I'll say things like navano time take your, things like that. So little words that they can pick up on, so that they're absorbing that. And then, of course, we have our, the generation around us. We have our parents, we have grandparents around us who are also, flooding and exposing our baby with all of those. I would never say to anyone not to do that, because that's actually going to push your baby's language even more as well. So continue to use both
Definitely.
languages.
Yeah. That's good to
Definitely.
So
clear
yeah,
up, because some people think that, oh, if my baby doesn't learn English
You'll
straight
confuse
away,
them.
oh, you're confused. Well,
yeah,
that's what it is. Like, oh, you might, oh,
yeah,
if
Yeah.
they don't
it's
learn English,
common.
they'll go to school and they won't know what to do when they get to like nursery or school, or so they won't be able
Mm,
to communicate and stuff with kids. And I'm like, I just want to teach him whatever I possibly can under the sun, right? And
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's so lovely to actually hear you dads say that. It's really refreshing. It's really nice to see how our generation of dads,
I
thinking
was
is,
just going to
and
say that I think that mindsets and perception and, people's outlook on having kids and when they get to that juncture in their life, like, for me, I'd always wanted kids, but I never knew what I'd be like as a father. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
the
think
unknown.
the fact that the line of work that I do has opened me up to so many different experiences. It's given me the ability to connect with so many different people on different levels. So I would be able to give my son that confidence from a young age where I didn't have it at his young age. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
and I kind of think it stems in, like, when we were children, we were always taught, like, or not taught, but it's, you want to feel like the cool kid, you want to feel accepted, and you're never really confident in your own abilities or like your own self. You want to be doing what the crowd wants to do, right? When you
yeah,
become an adult, when you become a parent, you've got to become comfortable with your own abilities. You've got to be comfortable within your own
absolutely,
self. You've got to have some
absolutely.
self-love,
You
and you've got to
do.
push those values into your child, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what we do now, the example that we set, and I
Hmm.
always say this to Justin as well. I mean, even my boundaries, I mean, have changed massively. Like what I might have accepted before Maya, I no longer accept now. Simply because if I do that, I'm not really setting an example for my child. And although my
Of course.
child can't understand, those kind of things, like such as boundaries right now, it's something that I'm trying to put into practice just because I want my child to have those values. And we have
Yep.
to break those kind of cycles and mindset that, we might have been exposed to, just to kind of, open our child up to, being themselves, their true authentic self. And it's really important for us as parents to set that example at a young age. I know it's a
100%.
side topic, but I think massively we should, since we're on that topic. I think it's really important. But yeah.
For sure. As I say, I'm wary of the time. I know you've got commitments with Maya this evening.
Yes.
What I want you to do is tell people how they can find and follow you and where they can find the course.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram on Speech Therapy with Ani. That's my Instagram name. You can also find me on my website, which is www.speechtherapywithani.com. And when you go on the website, you'll be able to access the course. If you click on find a course and then time to talk, it will redirect you to the checkout. And at the checkout, you can put my promo code on, which I've got for a limited time only up until next Sunday. I'm offering 10% off with the code earlybird10. So as soon as you do that, you'll get 10% off. You'll get an email that will come straight to your inbox, two emails, one which will say thank you for purchasing the course with your receipt, and a second email with your login and your password. And that's what you use to access the course. So you can use it, you can access the course, sorry, from your email, or you can access it obviously directly through the website by just logging in with your login details. And the module should come up, and then you can just go with it from
Off you
there.
go.
So they're
Yep.
my two platforms that I'm using at the moment. But if you want to find out more about me, my profession, how I work, my experience, I post a lot on my Instagram. Actually, a lot of my, my professional work ethic and all of that kind of thing is actually on my website. On my Instagram, I post regular Makaton videos. I post regular
which I
videos
love,
on
I've got
how
to say.
to. Thank you. On how to support and develop your child's communication. So I've got short videos on there as well, which you can use. So yeah, that's really it. And I hope you find the Time to Talk course really useful. I hope it helps both of you guys. I hope it helps a whole load of parents, care professionals out there as well. I'm excited to see it grow from strength to strength. And thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely speaking to you guys.
Thank you very much for taking your time to join us. It's been a good show. We will definitely be getting you back on at a later date.
Okay.
So yeah, just be ready for that.
I think what we might try and do is in a month's time maybe set up another show where we get the girls on to have a chat with you to see how they've had their experience with the course as well.
That would be good. That would be really good. Russian Priya.
Yeah.
That would be really good. Really good.
Yeah.
Female empowerment. I'm all about that.
Well, this is it. And we've been telling them we want you guys to take over the show for a week. So this would be an ideal topic, right? Because it's something that they're interacting with and it's something that they can lead a topic and conversation on. So let's we'll approach them with the idea and
we'll do it on the evening when football's on, right? So we can watch football while doing the show.
But if that's on, then you guys have to look after the baby as well. No excuses.
Baby hopefully is going to be sleeping by then, right? So we'll be all right.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, matches are on a lot later these days. Yeah.
This is it. Well, I mean, we've kept you a little bit longer than we anticipated. Again, I do want to say a huge thank you for you of making the time to be able to be here this evening. I know it was a last minute thing and we're fully appreciative to have you spend this time with us.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you back here in the future. And I am just going to say one more thing is that the course costs £42. There's 10% off it right now. We spend more than that on a Friday night at the pub and you haven't been to the pub in a long time. So there's literally no excuse as for why you could, like anyone could hesitate on buying the course. If you do want any more information, she has had loads of testimonials. I'm confident that Bav and I are going to get our ones across as well. So there are plenty of people which can give you firsthand experience on their experience on the course. Again, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to exit this. I don't know how to exit it.
I will give you a hand on that.
I know now. I'm going to press this button. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. So, Mr. B, what is the deal, man? Tell me. I want to know of what any milestones have been with Kay this week.
Oh, mate. All right, let's have a think. So, milestone, one that sticks out the most is probably standing up on his own 2 feet for a good 10
standing,
seconds.
Yeah?
10 seconds, stands, keeps the balance there, and then drops down again. I think that's probably the best milestone we've seen out of the lot, I'd say, so far.
Yeah. What are you going to push him to do next? For me, you know what? The thing where he was rolling over this morning was cool. There's a couple of things he's done. Like this week, he's been just reaching into my beard. Like he's figured out how to get my glasses. He'll pull those down. Reshma was saying this afternoon where he'd learned to kind of like roll onto his side. He was put in his crib and he'd kind of spun a 180. So that's completely new. There's a lot going on at the moment, man. Like he's really coming out and starting to shine. So
these are the few months now where you will see so much happening, where it's just going to be so hard to keep up with. Like every day you're going to be seeing something new. Every week you're going to be like updating me with some really good cool stuff, because this is when they start getting like, you know, for me it's like he's doing things that he'd already, like obviously look, he could stand up himself, he can walk with his walker, but now he's taking that next step of actually I don't need anything, I'm going to stand there on my own. Which is really good. But you know, it's now okay. He can walk lengths of the living room without getting tired, without getting bored of it. He's actually.
Is that with you giving him assistance, like he's walking the length kind of thing?
No, that's him on his own, just running up and down. The only thing I have to do is
bro.
I actually literally have to go to the other side and just turn the walker around, so then he can turn around and go again. He's not learned to turn it around yet. As soon as he does that, like he's obviously he goes into the cupboards. So he knows how to open cupboards now. So we've got the locks there, so you can't get into those. Which was fun because he would open it up and just have a look inside. He knows what to go for and what not to go for, right? So he knows, like, and he goes for the things he knows not to go for, because he's like, this is fun because they're going to chase after me if I go for it. So yeah, it is good fun. But yeah, the running around now begins, because as soon as he starts taking those steps on his own and starts running, that's it. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, you say that now. You won't be looking forward to it much when it happens, mate.
It's a good bit of exercise. No gyms are open, right? So might as well just run after him.
You're trying to get rid of that COVID stomach.
That's exactly it. That is it.
Oh, mate. I was going to ask you about football, man.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think my time's up now. I'm going to have to leave the show. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, mate, lovely. It is actually bang on the hour. I will accept that. So, guys, we thank you for all the comments that we've had in the comment section this evening. Thank you all very much for joining us. Buv, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And if everyone can just please, like, follow, subscribe on the Instagram page, the Facebook page, and the YouTube page. That much appreciated. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks again, guys. We will speak to you all soon. Have a wonderful evening.
Take care.